Yeah, we are live. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the live at 7 on every Wednesdays, where we come up with fresh new topic every week related to our emotional well-being, related to mental health, how we can better it. So today's topic is how can we raise emotionally healthy boys? Yes, not healthy kids, healthy girls, but emotionally healthy boys. We professionally and personally, we all know a lot of men, with all due respect, please don't pounce on me, with who really suffer from expressing themselves emotionally. They are not bad people per se. Some of these men that we are talking about are extremely good human beings. They are just the right people, but if they could be a little more emotionally available to themselves and to others in relationship, they would do wonders. So we'll be talking about why and how we can develop emotionally healthy boys. So that, yes, I understand today we are seeing a lot of emotionally vulnerable men. We can't really do much about them. We can if they decide to. That's a different league altogether. But what we can do is we can start early interventions. We can start developing emotional health early in boys. So over to you, Pragati.
Thank you, Devlina. Welcome, everybody who's watching us today. Please understand, today's live video is not to take pot shots at any gender, and it's not really to talk about our own personal relationships. It's just something to help you think about it. What are you doing to raise emotionally healthy sons? Because I would like to share a personal experience. When I was a mom, I realized whether I liked it or not, sometimes I was falling into the gender trap. If it was my boy, I wanted him to go out cycling, maybe pick up kickboxing. The fact that he could perhaps pick up cooking didn't even strike me. And I remember my son was 4 years old and he told me, Mama, meko dal chawal banana hai. For a minute, I was taken aback, nothing thing. So he said, dal banane mein, you put a katori of dal, you put water, you put haldi, you put salt. And for a minute, I was taken aback. He was absolutely right. And three whistles. He said, I have seen and I have watched. And I was like, excuse me? And everybody in the house was like, halwai banega kya bada hoke. We had a family function those days. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. That, even we as evolved individuals sometimes typecast a child. My first instinct was, oh my God, is he going to be sissy? And then I was like, excuse me, what are you thinking? Here you are, an urban educated woman, and how can you think like this? So here, this is a very pertinent topic, that what is it that I'm doing with my 4-year-old boy, specifically before he is 7 years old? Am I teaching him independence, but at the same time, respect for all jobs? And no job is gender specific. And in fact, his love for cooking, and he would watch masterclass chefs and everything. Now he fantastically looks after himself. He is not studying at home. So he very comfortably manages his food. And I realized that maybe something I've done right in spite of, that initial thought. Now, we as mothers sometimes think that, oh, I can never think in inappropriate ways. But the reason why I've shared this story is for you to realize that we are also products of patriarchy. So sometimes when our children do things which perhaps do not fall into that category, we also, go on that tangent. But if we can catch ourselves in time, in 10 years, in 20 years' time, we definitely have an emotionally healthier boy child than probably a generation back. What do you feel, Ashna, about this?
Absolutely, because I actually believe in the concept of catching them young, because that's when you can really work on kids in general. They grasp the most when they are younger. It's really crucial to address big emotions, tantrums, and anger in a very nice, understanding manner with your boys. If they are having a full blown tantrum, it is important for you to say that you understand that they are dealing with something, and it's a good idea to talk about it. I think when we start doing that as moms, they realize that it is okay to have these feelings and it is okay to talk about it with your parent. They are available and they are going to be there. It's only over a period of time we start stepping back. As the child grows, we also take a back seat, and that distance gets created in our communication. So I really feel it's very important to perpetually keep that bond strong and going, no matter what age your child is, no matter how old he is, and no matter how angry, happy, or sad he is. It is extremely, especially in times like this, it is important to be okay with a boy crying and saying that you understand that I understand you are upset. I understand that this is making you sad. What can I do to help you? That feeling of having someone to speak with and having someone with you itself is a huge deal. So I really feel addressing is very important.
Dressing is very important. I think we have pushed this under the carpet for way too long a time. And the way the complexities of the world is increasing, it's very important that we completely address the ways to make boys and girls both emotionally healthy rather than just put the entire burden on one gender's shoulder. It does not work like that. So today we'll be concretely talking about a few steps which we can take to raise emotionally healthy boys. And the first thing that comes to my head is developing a sense of empathy.
Hmm.
So, what's your take to it,
Absolutely.
Ashna? We'll start with you and then over to Pragati.
Yeah, when we speak about empathy again, once we label the emotion, when we address it, that's how they understand what they are dealing with and relate with us when we are sad or upset. That, mom, why are you sad? You look sad. You're not smiling. Those are the very first things that they pick. So I think addressing again, when you address it, when you label it, they understand. They are like a sponge. They learn very fast.
Pragati, you tell me you have a grown up son. So, do you think if your son came and asked you about how you're feeling or like, those feeling words, would you think that something's wrong with him or would you feel that he's not being manly enough?
No, I wouldn't feel that, Devina. But a real reason for it is because I've consciously worked at raising an emotionally healthy child. I've consciously worked at myself and my own gender biases. Like, I was pleasantly surprised sometime last year. I remember that my son told me that I think Nandini is treated a little differently than me in the house. So for a minute, I was taken aback. I was like, "Excuse me," and everybody talks about it. And he said, "No, like I can wear what I want, but if her shorts is of a particular length, she does have to hear about it if she's sitting in a particular manner." So I realized that this boy is probably managing to empathize, and that was really very nice. He said, "See, I just walk out from the time I've been 14, 15, whether you are told me go out, don't go out, I wouldn't care and I would just do it. But I see that, if she did the same thing, I know it wouldn't be okay with you." And he had really hit the nail on the head when he said that. Because fact of the matter is, whether I agree or not, I wouldn't have been comfortable if my 15-year-old suddenly decided to jazz off at 10:30, 11 in the night. And if it was my 15-year-old son, I probably would have been cool. I did say, no, no, I'll be okay, probably if she took kickboxing lessons and all. But heart of hearts, I realized that yes, he has empathized very, very well. He's understood what I'm all about. He also sees the difference between a man and a woman, even in an emancipated household. So I think today's topic is very pertinent because we always think that, emotional unavailability and gender biases are there in households which are very, very patriarchal or are not so educated. But each one of us has to introspect in our fancy houses, in posh localities, and think about it. We also practice gender bias. We also doubt ourselves and our reality. And till we do not agree, empathy will not grow in boys.
Yeah, it is. We do this in the most trivial ways and very casually. Like promptly, as a kid, I remember promptly my mom would call me to help her out in the kitchen. My brother, I mean, that's how it was. And we thought that's exactly how it should be. Only once we grew up and started realizing that, there's something off about this is when we started talking about it. So it
Point
just
made here.
starts off like that.
Because I genuinely, sorry, I'm just butting in, but this is something that I've absolutely observed that when girls are growing up, they are told in 10,000 ways how to be a woman or how to be a lady, how to be a grown up girl. But we rarely actually catch hold of a boy child, and tell him there are various ways to be a man. If you look at it, you can't even really pinpoint and say that this boy is not shaping up well, that boy is like, being raised wonderfully. We say all this, but then we never tell them that these are little ways you can add up to be the man that you need to be. So you learn how to probably dress well, you learn how to do a lot of things, you learn to sing, dance, all kinds of things in order to be a proper woman. But in order to be a proper man, how many boys have been told these are things that need to be done?
Yeah. And a few men who do it, are trolled badly. I have come across a few male bloggers who were using makeup because they enjoyed it and felt beauty is for everyone. And they were trolled like anything all over the internet. And having said that, people were huge on being metrosexual at one point of time.
So my next question to both of you is, do you feel that men are judged more?
No, I don't think so. I think they get away with a lot more. You know,
Okay.
it may seem like that. See, like why maybe the bloggers are getting trolled, but if you look at superstars, they've been using makeup since probably the silent movies were being made and nobody judged them. So,
Yeah.
you know, so I just feel ki right now because there's a lot more information available and superstars are no longer on a pedestal. So let's say a guy having a YouTube video probably is more approachable to be trolled than maybe a superstar like of yesteryears, like a Devanand or somebody like that, you know.
I completely agree. They get away with a lot more than we would.
Yeah. And the worst thing is they know it, you know, it's not like they don't know it. I think what really is important is they don't get judged as much because, you know, around men I feel there are very loose boundaries. Like for example, if a man yells, the other women in the house could be older, probably would tell you that, you know, he's working so hard. So, you know, so what if he's a little stressed out? Big deal if he yelled out. कमाता तो है, तुम्हारा ध्यान तो रखता है. But if you raise your voice, it's like, you know, you should not do it. You need to be very soft, and you know that's not the right
Ladylike.
thing.
That's very unladylike.
Yes.
Yeah, unladylike. Nobody likes an angry woman. So, you need to be soft, you need to be humble. So even if the man of the house is shouting, you're usually told that it's okay, you stay calm. Shant hone ke baad you should express. You should look for the right opportunity when you want to have a conversation.
So,
So
so
usually,
basically, get manipulative, huh?
yeah, that's
Get-
what you're told.
Concept again, I think we should do a separate live on this entirely, but we'll just be touching upon it. That's catering to male ego. What's your take on this, Pragati?
I feel that ego by itself means I am better than somebody else. First, you really need to ask yourself what is it that you feel in yourself that is not important enough. First, there has to be enough love for yourself. If you cater to yourself, I don't even think this battle of wills will really pull you in. You know, you become like a lion. I have to share an anecdote which a friend of mine shared with me. She'd just gone to Ranthambore and she said we had a tiger sighting and there were about 25 of us looking at the tiger in the distance. The tiger just looked with disdain, didn't care who was clicking pictures, who was not clicking pictures, didn't attack anyone. Nobody attacked the tiger. The demeanor was such. So she said, my learning was that give out that aura of power so that you don't even get pulled into this, what should I say? You know, this kind of kickboxing zone
Pandering to the male
with
ego?
male ego. Yeah. And trust me, I always thought I was a feminist, but what I feel is today, if you let that tiger inside you be alive, you realize that you are an individual entity. You are not threatening anyone, and nobody feels compelled to threaten you. So once we start developing ourselves and growing to that point, this question becomes moot only. Okay, do I need to pander to the male ego or not? It just becomes irrelevant.
Hmm.
What's your take?
What's your take to it, Ashna? Pandering to the male ego?
I feel a lot of women do it to get the job done, to get what they want. They get a lot of benefits out of pandering the male ego. By pleasing one person, they are getting what they want. So why not? And I think that's what they expect the other generation and the other women to do too. Apna ullu seedha karna hai, however you're doing it. So it's more, it's become like a barter system. I'm doing this, you're happy, so now you're doing this, you keep me happy. I think that's where the disaster starts, and the women also stop realizing what they are actually doing and what they are perpetuating.
So in the bargain, we land up with having a whole number of emotionally unhealthy men.
In
Absolutely.
fact, I want you to talk a little bit about your take to it, Devlina.
Yeah, I think both of you summed it up very beautifully. Yes, we do it. We like we are a little mindless when it comes to raising boys. We think that safety is not a major issue. While we are raising girls, we are a lot more worried that safety is a primary issue. But then at the same breath, since you're not worried about the safety bit, so you are a lot more relaxed and invariably invest a little less in terms of time as a resource on a boy child.
Hmm.
But then the boy child also happens to be human, a human child. So the boy child also needs that time as a resource from the parents to understand how to behave with a woman when he interacts with the mother, to understand what is the role of a man, a wholesome man, when he interacts with the father. When that happens, then the child is a lot more sure. So a sure, a boy who's growing up with certain amount of surety, especially I think communication is something that men are forever unsure of. Communication in the interpersonal relationships, they might be great masters at corporate communication, but when it comes to interpersonal relationships, sometimes I don't think sometimes would be the right word, most of the times they suck. So
Yeah, but there is a growing trend. In fact, I'll share a session which I had today. I had this gentleman, let's say in his middle adulthood, and he said, I realize I'm very short tempered and I really want to work on my anger. And I was pleasantly surprised, because frankly, in my 15 years of therapy, I have heard it once before from a boy who was dating somebody. It was just the second time I had heard, in spite of seeing thousands of men. So I do see maybe a drop in the ocean here and there. So when we talk about emotionally available men, what we need to realize is age is not a barrier. While it helps that we start early with them, at whichever point that realization comes in, there can be an emotionally available man. And I think here, Ashna, there was a very pertinent point that you raised. We as women play the barter game. If we feel it's negotiable, that basic respect that you need to have for yourself as a human being, I don't think that's negotiable for anyone, to whichever gender you belong to.
Here I
And
also
when women
noted.
decide that,
Sorry.
when women decide that, I think that's where emotionally available men will start coming in. Perhaps the gentleman who told me that, I have not met his partner, so I do not know, probably realized at some level that the woman has a very healthy boundary in place, that she is not going to take in communication which comes with so much of ifs and buts.
No, here what you rightly said, because I've noted a lot of times it's okay for kids to call their mom, refer to them as tum and tu, but when it comes to the fathers, it's always aap. That's how they're taught. The moms take it. They've never rectified it. And I mean that's one of the basic things. That's where they pick up and learn how to, distinguish what kind of respect is
class
to
of a
be given
second
to.
class citizen.
No,
Absolutely.
I have actually heard from a couple of mothers. It just shows that the child is more close to me.
Close
You
to.
use tum because it's familiar. I don't agree with that. I completely go by what you are
But
saying. It's
then
not,
by that logic, that means you're creating a difference between the boy and the father. The
yes.
father should be this distant, authoritative character who has no emotional connect with the boy. So how does the boy learn how to be the wholesome man?
Yeah. The father is
The
the
reason
ultimate example.
talking about this today is we see a growing trend in men who want to be emotionally available, who want to be emotionally healthy themselves, for themselves and for others. But what has happened is because we are not taught this, this how to be. as in households or in families, they are also confused.
Mm.
So we just today's conversation was purely to give an insight into what we could do to initiate it. End of the day, we must realize that it is your family who is there beside you on your deathbed. It's not how much you have earned or what name and fame you have gathered in your lifetime.
Mm.
So men, all the great men that we know and we don't know, please buck up. Please get emotionally abled, as Pragati puts it.
Yeah, because
Last words, parting words, Pragati and Ashna.
my parting word would be that, when it comes to relationships, unfortunately, we don't think in terms of gender. We only think in terms of where we can be loving and how we can be loved. Think about it very objectively. I've thought about it. Ki,
Mm.
when I'm expecting love from my son or my daughter, do I think of it in terms of gender? And my honest answer is no. I want the same things from both of them: basic respect, that sharing, some laughter, and some shared goals and visions, and some precious moments of celebrations. That's what I look at, and healthy interaction. So I don't think that we can really typify it with gender. What we can do as parents is, even if your child is 30, whether your child is 40, or whether your child is 3, do not differentiate on the basis of gender. Be emotionally available for the be emotionally available and expect the same. In fact, Lion King sums it up really, really well. If you see Simba's relationship with the father, and when his girlfriend comes in, it's like that's the kind of emotional availability that we talk about, that all kinds of emotions are welcome. So my parting word is just that: you have an issue, give your emotional ability resource to it, and see your family becoming emotionally available and healthy.
I absolutely agree. I feel it's important for parents to be available for their children, to be available to communicate, and uh, be okay listening to everything that they have to say in their highs and lows, and always be available to them so that they understand and realize that it is okay to talk about, and they have people who are going to listen to them. And other than that, setting a right example. I think when mothers and fathers, they set the right boundaries while they communicate with each other, the young boys and girls automatically pick on those cues and turn.
True. Thank you, Pragati and Ashna, for this wonderful insight. Hope this really helps our audience. This was our sincere attempt. I know this is a topic which we need to talk more and more for all of us to get comfortable with it. So let this be the initiation that we were all looking for. Before we part, there's an announcement. This Saturday, we have a 90 minutes workshop, and the topic is JOLO, joy of letting go.
Mm.
So, all those interested, please get in touch with us by Friday, and it starts sharp at 12 on Saturday. Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye bye. Thank you.